Welcome back to 726 here in Harrison, Arkansas. We have Thomas Peppler with us, and he is associated with hospice and home care at the hospital here. And I'd be glad for you to kind of fill us in on what all that entails. And
sure. As the director for North Arkansas Regional Medical's Home Care and Hospice of the Hills, we provide services in patients' homes, taking care of their families. With the home care, our goal is, of course, to get those people back on their feet and back with their families and doing their normal things. Of course, hospices kind of headed in the other direction. Those are for those folks that have a terminal diagnosis or are facing end-of-life care. And of course, at Hospice of the Hills, we also have a hospice house, which is an inpatient unit where the patient will come and stay with us for a time, depending on their situation.
And who ends up using like home care?
Well, it's a variety of folks. We get a lot of, if you've had your knee done, your hip done, so we have those orthopedic follow-up for those older folks. We also do a lot of education in the home, new medications, new diagnosis. We'll do wound care. It varies kind of from patient to patient, of course. If there's a skilled need that has to be done by a registered nurse or a physical therapist in the home, and you find that you are homebound, it means you can't easily get out to get those services elsewhere. Many insurances will cover a nurse or a therapist coming right to your home to do that.
Okay.
I'm sure that's very fulfilling work for a lot of the nurses that go out in the homes. But this time of year, the topic of this segment is grief during the holidays.
Yes.
Is there more grief during the holidays?
There tends to be more grief at the holiday time, of course, because at the holidays you've got friends and family all gathering. The memories will come whether there's been a grief situation or not. And of course, sometimes we're handling it better than others.
Right.
So at the holidays, we tend to remember more of those past loved ones or the way life used to be. And grief can be not only the immediate loss of a loved one, but also the recently finding out of a terminal diagnosis where your life is now changed as you know it. And just having the holidays be here and being around those people you love.
And if you're restricted in hospice or at home and you can't get out for the holidays and your family may not be coming, there's a lot more weight on you.
Very depressing.
Certainly
for sure.
can, absolutely. One of the things that we try and work with our folks on is making sure that those that are around you, whether they be right with you or not, on the phone or such, are aware of some of the things that you want to see happen in maybe the first 1 or 2 years of holidays that happen. You want to participate or don't want to participate. Traditions seem to be abound at this time of the year. And for some folks, participating in those traditions may not be overly helpful. For others, it may be just as important that everybody know we want to participate in those. So it's important to let your loved ones know where you're sitting. Do you want to or do you not want to? Do you want to make changes or do you want to be helped to do the things that you always did do and celebrate the memory of maybe a recently deceased by participating in whatever those traditions might be?
Now you said that you instruct, I guess, the people that go out and see the patients. Is that a course or just an awareness that you bring to them or?
As far as our hospice patients go, our staff are trained and we do teach the families, and we have a bereavement program whereby for a year following the death of their loved one, our bereavement team will continue to follow up with those individuals, those family members if they choose. And we offer that service for a whole year. And of course at this time of the year, again, we want to make that extra concentration to make sure that they're doing well.
Grief is a long-term thing. It can happen. It can start for no reason, and it can go on for years and years and years.
True, and a lot of the experts actually will say that your typical grief period runs several years. Typically, 2 to 3 years out is when you start really seeing things start to somewhat return to the new normal, whatever that happens to be. It's rare that you have somebody that experiences a loss of any kind that within a year they're completely back to the way that they were. That first year, of course, has all of those anniversaries, those first
Definitely.
years without that loved one. But even the second year and into the third, some of that still lingers, and that's normal. You know, we want to make sure that people experience the grief in a normal process.
Yeah. Is there? Can they call you for help? Or is it just for your patients and family?
No, sure. We're happy to help get people connected with resources if they need them.
And there's grief support groups in the area
There
too.
are. We host a grief support group here in Harrison. And they meet every Tuesdays, and happy to get information out to folks about that. There are, of course, some other organizations in the area that also do similar things, and we're happy to, whether you're a patient of Hospice of the Hills or not, happy to get you connected with a resource that's going to meet your needs. And for some people out there, they need some professional, help, and we're happy to try and get them connected as well.
Yeah.
And some people might not realize they're grieving normally, or they're not normal in that. So definitely being around others and getting some input and get some advice.
Yeah, and normal is different for everybody. Some people will say, well, it seems like they didn't even realize what happened and they just went right back into their routine. And other people, they bury themselves in their room for weeks on end. Of course, you've got two, far ends of the spectrum. If you're completely withdrawn for extended periods of time, you probably need some kind of a boost, some kind of help. But other than that, we do see most people tend to go through that normal grieving process, and we do encourage folks to recognize that going through the normal grieving process of being sad and some mild depression is expected. Absolutely,
Don't force
that's
it.
a major thing. Right?
Don't try to be normal overnight.
No.
Yes.
Let it take its course.
Absolutely, and it's important for those around those that have experienced a loss to also recognize that you may have to handle that loved one or a friend a little bit differently. Give them a little bit of leeway. Allow them to maybe skip a function or do things differently, but encourage them to participate, but realize that they may not be up to it.
The main fundraiser, I think, for Hospice of the Hills is 20 is Plenty, and that just ended, I think. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
But that's an ongoing yearly thing. If people want to donate to that, that's fine.
Yes.
And that money goes for both programs, is that right?
It does. The Hospice of the Hills Board it does the fundraising, and those funds are used to pay anything that an insurance company would not pay. It also goes towards any of those people without insurance. We will cover them. We will never send a patient with Hospice of the Hills a bill for anything of any kind, whether that's us caring for them in their home or them coming to the hospice house. They don't receive a bill, and those fundraisers are for that. It's to go towards those funds.
And initially, that building was built, and then you expanded?
Yes, sir.
And tell us about the facility now. How many beds?
Sure. We have an 8-bed facility, staffed 24 hours a day by a registered nurse and a CNA and additional staff as needed. And we'll have patients come into the house. Typically, it's a short period of time. They do have to meet inpatient criteria. As defined by our government, of course, or we'll have them come in for a respite period, which is up to 5 midnights a month, which they'll come in and we will provide the care instead of the home being provided, the family in the home providing that. And that's a real blessing to those that are caring for a loved one at home. They need a break as well. And we're real passionate about making sure that not just the patient is taken care of, but also those family members. And that's one of the great things about the hospice house. We do make sure that they're all taken care of.
That's great. Well, we appreciate you being here, Thomas. Happy holidays. And
Thank you.
As the holidays do for some people, it does bring grief. And just know that you're not alone and you're going through a process. And if you need more information, you can contact Thomas's.
And what's your number?
We can be reached at 414-4100 for Hospice of the Hills or for home care. Or if you reach out to the hospital, certainly they'll direct you to us. But that 414-4100 is the best way to get a hold of us.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at a pet of the week, and Wanda Massengale will be here to tell us all about it. And we'll do that right after these messages. Stay with us.